We are wrapping up our State of the 49ers series. This was quite the project. 8 parts. It went from the end of the season until now. And we're just a week away from the start of the new league year. But last but not least, special teams. And I guess it was least. It was least in 2021. This was the worst phase of the game for the 49ers. They really, really struggled until they didn't in the divisional round against the Green Bay Packers. So that was one of the great ironies of 2021 and that roller coaster ride, the tightrope back that the 49ers made at the end of the season. Their special teams, which had dogged them so many times over the course of the regular season, came through in the absolute clutch at one of the year's biggest moments. And the 49ers registered a field goal block from Jimmy Ward and a punt block from Jordan Willis, which turned into a Talanoa Hufanga touchdown to help beat the Green Bay Packers and advance to the NFC Championship game. That being said, the 49ers special teams unit still was not good enough over the course of the 2021 season. They did not retain their coordinator for that phase of the game, Richard Hightower. He's now the special teams coordinator for the Chicago Bears. And the 49ers instead brought in former longtime Seattle special teams coordinator Brian Schneider, who's got quite the track record that we'll talk about in this video. So subscribe to the channel as we break down the 49ers special teams unit, what must get better heading into this 2022 season. This is the piece. I'm going to put it right now into the comment section, and you can subscribe to The Athletic right now for $1 a month. So link is being pasted right now. There you go. Check it out in the chat. Check it out in the comment section after this video and this live is finalized. And we're going to go through some of this, especially the rankings. Take a look at this. 49ers special teams efficiency in 2021. Red is bad. Blue is good. Field goal and punt units, good for the 49ers, right? Robbie Gould, a little bit above average. Gould actually has had a little bit of a renaissance, which is good for San Francisco. I mean, he was at 74% of his kicks made in 2019, an injury-plagued year. He's hurt again this year with the groin, missed 4 games, but Gould is back to 87% make rate on his kicks, which is a whole hell of a lot better than it could have been, and a whole lot better than the rest of the league. Remember, he was at like 96% in 2017 and 2018. So the 49ers got prime Robbie Gould then. But now they have very good Robbie Gould. And if they can continue having that here for the final season of Gould's contract in 2022, then they're going to be happy. Punt was also decent, even though Mitch Wishnowsky doesn't have the strongest leg. I think his directional kicking and his ability to spin the ball, to create some fumbles, we saw that against Cincinnati. I think it's all paired well with the 49ers punt coverage. So the 49ers actually ranked number 7 in the punt coverage game. It's kickoff, kick return, and punt return that's been bad for the 49ers. And punt return got better in 2021, but kickoff and kick return really bad. Punt return still below average. So that's the 49ers special teams profile. They must absolutely get better in the bottom half of that graph right there. So the return game is going to be where the 49ers must focus their efforts. And that's where we bring in Brian Schneider's track record. It's a promising hire for the 49ers because look at this. This is Seattle's special teams under Schneider over 10 seasons from 2010 to 2019 when he was the special teams coordinator there. I said red is bad, blue is good. You have a whole hell of a lot of blue, especially on the kickoff coverage and the kick and punt return units, precisely where the 49ers must get better. Robbie Gould's going to be who Robbie Gould is. The special teams coordinator is not going to change what a 39 or 40-year-old veteran at kicker does. I think at punt, the 49ers have been okay. They drafted Mitch Wishnowsky a few years ago, and you could even say good as far as the whole package goes because the punt coverage has been decent. It's the kickoffs where the 49ers couldn't get any touchbacks. They were third to last in touchback rate this past season. It's the kick returns where the 49ers have ranked dead last over the past couple years. And it's the punt returns where they got a little bit better, but are still below average. That's where the 49ers need to get better. And Brian Schneider has a track record of coaching very good units, as you could see, top 3 units with Seattle over the course of an entire decade. And that's where he succeeded. And that's where the 49ers need to get better on special teams. But it's not all about coaching. A lot of this on special teams is about the talent of roster depth. And if you break down what Brian Schneider did with Seattle, you'll notice that he was excellent. I mean, the special teams rankings were superb over the course of the first 6 years there, and then they dropped off over the last 4. Well, what was the difference between the first 6 and the last 4? The coach stayed the same. Over the last 4, Seattle, that was when they started paying guys. That's when the formerly hungry, young, rookie deal, championship caliber roster that we saw with the Seahawks in 2012 to 2014, that's when guys started getting second contracts. And when guys get second contracts in the NFL, they play a lot less special teams. That's just how it works. So Seattle was way more top heavy toward the end of Schneider's tenure, and special teams was the first unit to bear the brunt of that. Now, the 49ers have seen a similar dynamic, except injuries have fueled it with them. In 2020 and 2021, we saw the erosion of the special teams unit under Richard Hightower. They ranked above average under Hightower on the aggregate in 17 and 18 and 19. 20 and 21, the 49ers ranked number 26 overall in special teams. What happened was, guys started getting hurt. And when guys started getting hurt, you had to pull guys off the street onto your coverage units, onto sometimes your return units. And that ended up circling everything down the drain. So it doesn't matter who's the coach. You're not going to have a good special teams unit if your entire roster is on injured reserve. But obviously, in changing special teams coaches, Kyle Shanahan acknowledged that something had to be done. And, you can assign blame for different things. So sometimes maybe the coverage unit or the kick return unit will miss assignments because you're not cohesively centered on where you should be because you don't have the personnel that you need to have. But then there's the case of not being ready to defend the fake punt against Seattle, not being ready to defend a fake punt against Dallas. Both of those cases, I think, fall on the coordinator. And Richard Hightower took that blame in the press conferences after those games. But ultimately, that happened too many times for the 49ers. Now, they were ready for the Rams' fake field goal attempt in Week 10, and DJ Jones made a hell of a play to stop that one. But I think all in all, when Shanahan decided not to retain Richard Hightower and when he brought in Brian Schneider, he said, we do need coaching improvements, but the 49ers have also acknowledged that they need player improvements, personnel improvements. And to that end, the upcoming draft for the 49ers have 9 picks is going to be absolutely critical because the draft is where you replenish that young, hungry rookie deal depth that's going to allow you to be good on special teams. This draft right here might make or break the 49ers championship contention, not just because of the potential contributions that these guys can make on offense and defense, but also in this third phase of the game where, again, you need those hungry players. Seattle rose to prominence because in large part of this, remember Richard Sherman returning a field goal block 90 yards in 2012 for a touchdown? Yes, the 49ers and Pete Carroll going crazy on the sidelines. Defense and special teams did it for Seattle. And the 49ers, whose profiles here, are trying to get the special teams to do that for them. There was talk that the 49ers are interested in Ray McLeod, former Pittsburgh returner. And he's one of the better returners in the game. Maybe they go after a veteran in free agency to bolster the return game. I do know that you have to be better than number 32, which is dead last in the kick return game in this league. I know that a lot more kicks are touchbacks unless the 49ers are kicking them, and only 45% of them are touchbacks. But you have to take advantage of the fact that the tee's been moved up a few yards, right? 5 yards. You have to kick more touchbacks, and you have to make teams pay when they don't get touchbacks, and the 49ers have done neither. You have to get better in the punt returning game. So maybe somebody like McLeod or a draft pick can help the 49ers there. The 49ers went from number 31 to number 18 in punt returning this past year because they used Brandon Ayuk to develop some stability at that position. They got the stability, but they didn't get the explosiveness that they needed. And the entire league, I think there are only 1 or 2 punt returns for a touchdown in the entire NFL this year. So I think coverage is outpacing returning in that phase of the game. But still, Ayuk averaged only 7.5 yards per punt return. Stability is great. They didn't give up too much there, but I think the 49ers would still want to be above average in that phase of the game to give themselves a little bit of a boost because as we have seen, the margins in the NFL are not big. They're tiny. So that's the 49ers special team situation. The return game does need a lot of work, but it's not all about coaching, even though the 49ers are excited about the new coach they've brought in Brian Schneider. It's about roster depth. So keep your eyes on the draft. And if, if that goes well, if the 49ers develop the right guys, have the right youngsters in there, they have a chance to have one of those lean, hungry, fast, aggressive special teams units that can take them to the next level. All right. Any questions? What are Gold's contract details? Will he be the kicker for the next few years, or is there a plan to draft or sign an eventual successor? That's a really good question from Lester in San Jose. Robbie Gold's under a fully guaranteed contract for 2022, $5.5 million. Can't really cut him because if you do, you have to eat $5.5 million. So he's on the team for sure through 2022, but it's open after that. And if Gold starts kicking well this year, and then he says, oh, I want to kick well into my 40s, maybe the 49ers re-sign him. So this is a contract year coming up for Robbie Gold. But that's an excellent question. Mitch Wishnowsky, who came aboard in 2019, is about to enter a contract year as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what the 49ers do well. I think they really, really wanted Wishnowsky to be a better kickoff man. 45% is not good for the touchback rate because Gold is old, right? So you don't want Gold having to handle these kickoffs, but they had to have him handle the kickoffs late because they weren't getting the necessary touchbacks from Wishnowsky. But they were happy with Gold, especially after his injury in 2021. And now he's in a contract year where now he's in a contract year with the guaranteed money being there. You distracted me because he said San Jose is my last name. So Lester's last name is San Jose. But I guess you don't live in San Jose, so it would be perfect if you lived in San Jose and that were your last name. How many likely trade partners remain for Jimmy G? I just recorded a separate video on that, so be sure to go check that out. I mean, I think Indianapolis is the most obvious one right now, but Seattle's dark horse. People talking about Pittsburgh, people talking about New Orleans because of all the rumors. Who knows? I mean, I hate the speculation of all this. I like dealing with fact. So that's what I try to do in the Jimmy Garoppolo video. Make sure you go check that out right now. All right, good stuff, guys. That is the state of the 49ers special teams unit. They've got to bolster this roster to the draft. And then their new coordinator, Brian Schneider, you all called for Richard Hightower's head. Well, I mean, you got the new coordinator. If he gets that young, lean, hungry roster, thanks to the draft, he may have a chance to do something special like he did in Seattle last decade. Subscribe to the channel. Talk to you all soon.